The email notification appeared on my phone during my lunch break at the hospital where I worked as a medical records clerk. Subject line: Confirmation Ocean Breeze Property Summer Booking. I stared at the screen. Ocean Breeze was what my grandmother had called her beach house in Seaside, Oregon. The three-bedroom cottage sat on a bluff overlooking the Pacific, surrounded by wind-bent pines and wild beach grass. I'd spent every summer there until I turned 18. The email wasn't addressed to me. It was forwarded from my stepfather, David, with a note: FYI, generating income from the property. Don't plan any surprise visits this summer. Fully booked. I set down my sandwich and opened the attachment. A professional rental listing with photos of every room. Charming coastal retreat. Sleeps 8. $3,500 per week. Private beach access available May through September. 20 weeks, over $70,000 for a property David didn't own. My phone rang. Mom's number. Sweetheart, David told me about the rental situation, she said. I know you have sentimental attachment to your grandmother's place, but it's been sitting empty for 2 years. This is practical. Mom, he's already booked the entire summer. The income will help with our kitchen renovation. You understand, right? I looked at the metal filing cabinet beside my desk. Bottom drawer, legal folder. Grandmother's estate attorney had handed it to me the day after the funeral. Don't open this with your mother present, she'd said. Your grandmother was very specific. I understand, I told Mom. That evening, I pulled the folder. Last Will and Testament of Margaret Ellen Foster. I'd read it a dozen times in 2 years, but never acted on it. Never told anyone. I leave my beach house property located at 1847 Coastal Highway, Seaside, Oregon, including all structures, land, and furnishings to my granddaughter Jessica and Morrison as sole and exclusive owner. This property is not part of my general estate and passes directly to Jessica via transfer on death deed already filed with Clatsop County. There was more. A handwritten letter tucked behind the legal document. Jessica, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I'm leaving you the beach house because you're the only one who loved it the way I did. Not for its value, but for the peace it offers. Your mother married David 3 months ago, and I already see what he is. A man who measures everything in dollars. He'll try to take this from you. Don't let him. The deed is filed. The property is yours. Make him prove otherwise. All my love, Grandma Maggie. She died of a sudden stroke 2 weeks after writing that letter. The deed transfer had been filed 1 week before her death. David had married Mom 6 months after Grandma's husband passed. Quick courtship, eager promises. I'd kept quiet because Mom seemed happy, because I worked 50 hours a week and lived in a small apartment and didn't need a beach house, because confronting David meant confronting Mom's choice. But $70,000 and fraudulent bookings changed the equation. Sunday dinner at Mom and David's house in Portland. The dining room smelled like pot roast and ambition. David had recently bought a boat, a 24-foot cabin cruiser he couldn't really afford. The rental income is better than expected, David announced, pouring himself wine. I've got 12 families booked. All paid deposits, $1,500 each, non-refundable, $18,000 in deposits alone. Mom beamed. David's thinking of hiring a property management company for next year. Really scale things up. My brother Kyle, who'd driven up from Eugene, raised his glass. Smart business move. That house was just sitting there. Exactly, David said. Your grandmother wouldn't want it wasted. She was a practical woman. I cut my pot roast into precise pieces. Did you file the rental income on your taxes? David's smile tightened. It's property income. Perfectly legal. I mean, did you report it as income from property you own? I'm managing the estate property. Your grandmother's will is still in probate. Grandma died 2 years ago. Complex estate. These things take time. He turned to Kyle. Your sister doesn't understand real estate management. Kyle shrugged. Jess works in medical records. Not exactly business-oriented. I nodded slowly. You're right. I should probably consult a professional. Maybe Grandma's estate attorney. David's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. No need to bother lawyers with routine property management. But if the estate is still in probate, there's an executor, right? Someone making official decisions about property use. Mom frowned. Jessica, why are you being difficult about this? David is helping maintain the property value by renting it out, by preventing it from sitting empty and deteriorating. You never even visit. Because I'm not allowed to visit. It's booked all summer. David set down his fork with exaggerated patience. If you wanted to use the property, you should have communicated that. I'm generating income for the family. Your mother and I are planning to use the rental proceeds for our kitchen renovation. Unless you want to contribute to that cost. How much are you planning to spend? $40,000, quality cabinets, new appliances. So, he'd already allocated more than half the rental income. Money he'd collected from families expecting a legitimate vacation rental. I'll think about it, I said. That night, I emailed Grandma's estate attorney, Patricia Chin at Morrison & Associates. She responded within an hour, asking me to come to her office Monday morning. Patricia's office occupied the 10th floor of a downtown Portland building with views of Mount Hood. She was 60-some, sharp-eyed, with gray haircut and a precise bob. Your grandmother anticipated this, she said, pulling a thick file. She came to me 8 months before she died. Said her new son-in-law was showing concerning behavior around family assets. She wanted to protect the beach house specifically. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Your grandmother's instructions were clear. Let you discover the situation naturally. Let David reveal himself. She thought you'd be more willing to act if you saw his true character firsthand rather than hearing warnings from a dead woman. He's collected $18,000 in deposits. Patricia's expression hardened. For property he doesn't own, which constitutes fraud. The transfer on death deed was filed with Clatsop County on March 15, 2 years ago. The property passed directly to you the moment your grandmother died. It never entered her estate. David has no legal claim whatsoever. Mom thinks the estate is in probate. Your grandmother's estate was simple. A small savings account, some personal items. It closed 18 months ago. Your mother received the savings account, $23,000. The beach house wasn't part of that estate because it had already transferred to you. Does Mom know? I sent final estate documents to both her and David. He signed for them. Either he didn't read them carefully or he chose to ignore the property transfer. I thought about the boat, the planned kitchen renovation, David's confident assertion that he was managing estate property. What are my options? Patricia opened her laptop. We can send a cease and desist letter, inform the rental agency, and demand return of all deposits. We can also file a police report for fraud and misrepresentation. That will destroy my relationship with my mother. Your stepfather is committing fraud using your property. Your mother is complicit, even if unknowingly. This isn't about family harmony. This is about $70,000 and fraudulent transactions and your legal property rights. I stared out the window at Mount Hood's White Peak. If I do nothing, those families will show up expecting a legitimate rental. They'll have confirmation numbers, rental agreements, paid deposits. When disputes arise, and they will, you could be held liable as the actual property owner. Your stepfather is creating legal exposure for you. Send the letter to David and the rental agency. Patricia nodded. I'll need your authorization to act as your attorney in this matter. There will be costs. How much? $2,000 as a retainer. If this goes to court, more, but I suspect it won't. David will fold once he realizes the legal reality. I thought about my savings account. $6,000 carefully accumulated over 2 years. Do it. The letter went out Wednesday via certified mail requiring signature. Patricia also contacted Premier Coastal Rentals, the agency David had contracted with, informing them that he had no legal authority to rent the property. Thursday evening, David called. What the hell did you do? Asserted my property rights. That's family property. Your grandmother's estate. The beach house isn't part of Grandma's estate. It transferred directly to me via a deed filed 2 years ago. You know this. You signed for the final estate documents. Silence. Then you're trying to steal from your own mother. Mom received Grandma's savings account. The beach house was never part of what Mom inherited. Check the estate closure documents. I'm managing that property as family executor. There is no executor. The estate closed 18 months ago. Patricia Chin has all the paperwork. More silence. You hired a lawyer. Grandma's estate attorney. She handled the transfer on death deed. The property has been legally mine since Grandma died. Your mother will never forgive you for this. For stopping you from committing fraud. David, you collected $18,000 in deposits for property you don't own. That's a crime. I'm protecting family assets. You're planning to spend $40,000 on your kitchen renovation using money you fraudulently collected from families who think they're renting a legitimate vacation property. I heard him breathing, calculating. We can work this out. You let the rentals proceed. I'll split the income with you. 50-50. Cancel the rentals. Return the deposits. Stop representing yourself as the property owner. Those families have non-refundable deposits. Then you'll need to refund them anyway because they're renting property you can't legally provide. He hung up. Mom called 10 minutes later. How could you do this to us? Mom, did you read the estate closure documents? David handled all that legal paperwork. He said it was routine. The beach house transferred directly to me. It was never part of the estate you inherited. Grandma set it up that way deliberately. That's ridiculous. Why would she do that? Read the documents. Mom, Patricia Chin sent them to you 18 months ago. The beach house deed shows me as sole owner. Has shown me as sole owner since Grandma died. David said we were managing it together. David has been lying to you. Her voice went cold. He's my husband. You're trying to cause problems in my marriage. He's committed fraud. $18,000 in deposits for property he can't legally rent. Those families could sue him, could sue you, could potentially sue me as the actual owner. You're being paranoid. Check the county property records. Clatsop County Assessor's Office. Look up 1847 Coastal Highway. See whose name appears as owner. She hung up. Friday afternoon, Premier Coastal Rentals called my cell. Miss Morrison, this is Brandon Williams, Operations Manager at Premier Coastal. We need to discuss the Ocean Breeze property situation. What situation? We received a letter from your attorney claiming you're the legal owner and that David Morrison has no authority to rent the property. We've also received a copy of the deed showing your name. But Mr. Morrison has a signed contract with us and has collected substantial deposits from clients. How much total? $18,000 in deposits with remaining balances of $56,000 due at check-in. We have 12 families booked from May through September, $74,000. David doesn't own the property. He never owned it. The deed transferred to me 2 years ago when my grandmother died. Mr. Morrison represented himself as the property owner. He provided utility bills and tax documents. What tax documents? Property tax statements showing the address. Those statements are mailed to the property owner. That's me. He must have taken them from the mailbox. Brandon's voice went careful. So, we're potentially facing fraud claims from 12 families. Yes. Miss Morrison, are you interested in honoring these rental agreements? We could transfer the contracts to your name. You'd receive the income. No. Cancel the rentals. Return the deposits. I'm not running a vacation rental. Mr. Morrison spent the deposit money. He told us yesterday he doesn't have it to return. That's his problem. Those families have contracts with your agency. They paid you. They paid deposits to us, which we forwarded to Mr. Morrison as the property owner. Standard procedure. Based on his fraudulent representation, your agency should have verified ownership. Long pause. We're going to need to consult our legal team. You do that. My attorney is Patricia Chin at Morrison and Associates. She'll send you all the property documentation you need. After he hung up, I checked the county property tax records online. The statements were indeed mailed to the beach house address. I'd never seen them because I'd never visited after Grandma died. Too many memories, too much grief. David had been collecting my mail for 2 years. Saturday morning, Patricia called. Premier Coastal's attorney contacted me. They're canceling all rentals and demanding David return the deposits within 10 days. If he doesn't, they'll file a civil suit. Will he? He spent it. The boat purchase was $14,000. The kitchen renovation deposit was $12,000. He's got maybe $2,000 in checking. So, those families won't get their deposits back. Not unless David liquidates assets. The boat maybe, but boats depreciate fast. He'll be lucky to get $10,000 for it. Now, what about the families? They'll likely sue Premier Coastal since that's who they contracted with. Premier will sue David. It'll be messy, but none of it touches you legally as long as you didn't participate in the fraud. What about criminal charges? I've prepared documentation for the Clatsop County DA's office. Fraud, theft by deception, potentially mail theft if he's been taking your property tax statements. Whether they prosecute is their decision. I thought about Mom, about Sunday dinners and pot roast and her determined belief that David was a good provider. Send it to the DA. Sunday, Kyle called. Mom's devastated. She's saying you've destroyed her marriage. David destroyed his marriage by committing fraud. He made a mistake. Families should stick together. He collected $74,000 for property he knew he didn't own. That's not a mistake. You could have handled this privately. You didn't have to involve lawyers and rental agencies. What's private about 12 families showing up expecting a vacation rental? What's private about David spending $18,000? He'll need to repay. I gave him a chance to cancel the rentals. He refused. Because you blindsided him. You never even mentioned you own the property. I shouldn't have to mention I own my own property. The deed is public record. The estate documents clearly showed the transfer. David chose to ignore reality. Kyle sighed. Mom wants you to drop the legal action. Let David work out a payment plan with the rental agency. So those families just lose their deposits. Some couple with 3 kids who saved all year for a beach vacation loses $1,500 because David wanted a boat. Life's unfair sometimes. Yes, it is. Which is why fraud is illegal. Monday, the first family contacted me directly. The wife found my information through the property records. Miss Morrison, this is Jennifer Hartley. My family was scheduled to rent your beach house from June 15th to June 22nd. Premier Coastal just canceled our reservation. I'm sorry. The person who listed the property didn't have legal authority. They're refusing to refund our $1,500 deposit. They say the owner spent it. We have 4 kids. This was our summer vacation. We've been planning for 8 months. I closed my eyes. I understand. I'm very sorry this happened. Is there any way we could still rent the house? We'll pay you directly. We just need that week. My youngest daughter has been counting down the days. Mrs. Hartley, I'm not set up for vacation rentals. No insurance, no rental agreement. No, please. We'll sign whatever you need. We'll pay in advance. We just need somewhere to take our kids. I thought about Grandma's letter. Not for its value, but for the peace it offers. Let me call you back. I phoned Patricia. Can I legally rent the house to one of these families just to help them out? You'd need vacation rental insurance, a proper lease agreement, liability coverage. You'd also need to register with the city of Seaside as a short-term rental. It's doable, but it takes time, weeks probably. What if I just let them stay there for free? Like a family favor. Then you're potentially liable if anyone gets hurt and you're not covered by insurance. I strongly advise against it. I called Jennifer Hartley back. I can't rent you the house, but I can give you the contact information for my attorney. She's working on getting your deposit back from the person who took it. So, we're just out $1,500. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you get that money back. That's a promise. She started crying. We can't afford another vacation. This was it for us this year. After she hung up, I sat in my apartment looking at the rain streaking down the windows. 11 more families had similar stories. Wednesday, the Clatsop County Sheriff's Office called. Miss Morrison, Deputy Williams. We'd like to ask you some questions about property located at 1847 Coastal Highway. What kind of questions? We've received a fraud complaint. Your stepfather, David Morrison, is alleging that you've illegally seized property that belongs to your mother's estate. That's not accurate. I have all the legal documentation showing. We'd like you to come to the Seaside office and provide that documentation. Can you make it this week? I took Friday off work and drove 2 hours to Seaside. The sheriff's office sat 3 blocks from the beach, a low concrete building with salt-stained windows. Deputy Williams was in his 40s with a weathered face and careful eyes. Miss Morrison, we've received complaints from both David Morrison and Premier Coastal Rentals. I need to see proof of ownership. I handed him the folder. Deed transfer documents, grandmother's will, estate closure papers. He read for 20 minutes. This appears legitimate. The deed transfer is dated and filed correctly. It is legitimate. Mr. Morrison claims your grandmother was mentally incompetent when she signed the transfer. She had a complete medical evaluation 1 month before signing. Her attorney required it. She was completely lucid. Do you have documentation of that evaluation? My attorney does. He made notes. Mr. Morrison also claims you've been intercepting his mail and forging documents. I've never touched his mail. He's been taking my property tax statements from the beach house mailbox for 2 years. That's mail theft. Can you prove that? The statements are addressed to me at the property address. I've never received them. Someone's been collecting them. David admitted he had tax documents showing the property address. Deputy Williams leaned back. This is a civil matter. Property dispute between family members. We don't usually get involved unless there's clear criminal activity. He collected $18,000 in deposits for property he doesn't own. He spent that money. 12 families are out their vacation deposits. That's fraud. Has the rental agency filed a complaint? Their attorney is preparing one. Have any of the families filed police reports? Not yet. They're still trying to get their money back. He tapped his pen on the desk. Here's my advice. This is between you, your stepfather, and the rental agency. Work it out through lawyers. If the families want to file fraud complaints, they can. But right now, this looks like a family property dispute. Even with $18,000 in fraudulent deposits, even with that, unless the DA decides to prosecute, which they probably won't for a first-time offense involving family property. I drove back to Portland, understanding that David wouldn't face criminal charges. Civil liability, yes. Family consequences, absolutely. But no handcuffs, no trial. Patricia filed a civil suit against David on behalf of the 12 families, asking for return of deposits, plus damages. Premier Coastal filed their own suit for breach of contract and damage to their business reputation. David's solution was to declare bankruptcy. The boat was repossessed. The kitchen renovation was canceled mid-project, leaving Mom with torn-out cabinets and exposed plywood. Their savings account was drained, paying bankruptcy attorney fees. Mom stopped speaking to me entirely. Kyle sent occasional texts. She's devastated. This is killing her. Was it worth destroying the family? I didn't respond. 3 months later, I drove to Seaside on a Friday evening. The beach house looked exactly as I remembered. Weathered cedar shingles, white trim, a front porch with a swing facing the ocean. I unlocked the door with the key Grandma had given me years ago. Inside, everything was frozen in time. Her reading chair by the window, the kitchen table where we'd played cards during rainstorms, the guest room where I'd slept every summer. I found her journal in the bedroom nightstand. The last entry was dated 1 week before she died. Talked to Patricia today. Everything is set. The house will go to Jessica cleanly. David has been asking about my assets, suggesting I should sell the beach house and invest the money properly. He doesn't understand that some things have value beyond dollars. Jessica does. She'll protect this place. She'll understand why I did this. I sat on the porch swing as the sun set over the Pacific. The wind brought the smell of salt and pine. My phone rang. Patricia. The Hartley family's deposit was returned today. David liquidated his retirement account. He's paying back all 12 families over the next 6 months. And Premier Coastal, they're pursuing their suits separately. He'll be paying them for years. I watched waves crash against the rocks below. What about Mom? I don't know. That's not legal territory. After hanging up, I sat until dark fell and the lighthouse beams swept across the water. I thought about Grandma, about her careful planning, her protection offered from beyond death. I thought about David, who'd measured everything in dollars and missed what actually mattered. I thought about Mom, who'd chosen to believe a charming man over her own daughter. And I thought about 12 families who'd get their money back eventually, who'd have other vacations, other summers, other chances. The beach house was mine. The property was secure. The fraud was unwinding, but the family was broken in ways no court could repair. I locked up and drove back to Portland in darkness, knowing I'd return. The house was mine now, not to rent, not to profit from, just to keep. The way Grandma intended. Some things have value beyond dollars.